There's something she never said. Not because she's shy, but because she's waiting for a man strong enough to see it without being told. Not a boy who guesses, a man who knows. Welcome to Dark Psychology. I'm Amelia. And what you're about to hear isn't sweet. It's raw, real, and it will forever change the way you see women, because no matter how confident, fierce, or independent she appears, every woman harbors weaknesses, not flaws, but deep psychological entry points into her mastodon. Desires, the kind that can unlocked by a certain kind of man. Not a loud one, not a charming one, but a stoic one. The man who doesn't flinch when she explodes, who sees the crack behind her laughter, who speaks less, but sees more. Most men are too distracted by the surface, the smile, the curves, the vibe, but women aren't conquered by compliments, they're disarmed by This is about power, perception, and primal attraction. So sit back, focus, and let's dive into the hidden craving. She wants to beyond. You see her at a party, maybe a cafe, confidence, eyes sharp. She owns room, untouchable, unbothered, a walking fantasy. But you know what? It's a lie. Because deep beneath that control, she aches to surrender. But not a weak man who simps, not to a smicker, not to a nice guy who waits for her signals. No, she's craving something ancient. A man with presence so undeniable that she forgets her to be in control. She wants to be taken, not by force but by masculinity, the kind that walks into a room and doesn't ask for attention. It commands it without a word. But society told her that wanting this was wrong, so she buried it, painted it over with filters, wrapped it in feminism and fake independence, yet her body remembers. That's why she'll test you. She roll her eyes. Ignore your texts. Challenge your masculinity. Not because she doesn't want you, but because she's silently begging you not to fold. She's waiting for a man who doesn't ask for permission to lead, a man who doesn't flinch when she gets loud, a man with stillness screams louder than herself. And when she finds him, when she meets the stoic man, her guard slips, not instantly, but inevitably, because her storm was never looking for it was waiting for something unshickle to crash into. You don't conquer her with compliments, you don't chase her with validation, you just hold your ground, silent, calm, centered, and suddenly she's the one who leans in, breathless, wet, and grateful, not because you did anything, but because you didn't break. That step, the more still you are, the more wild she becomes. 2. Her lips lie, but her weakness is emotional nudity. She smile and say, I'm not looking for anything serious. She'll claim I didn't catch feelings. She'll laugh and, we're just having fun. But behind that laugh, behind the casual tone, is a woman checking your Instagram stories at 3 a.m., looking for your name in her notifications, stalking your. Her lips are lying, but her energy never does. This is her second weakness. She craves emotional nudity, to be seen in her mess, in her contradictions, in her vulnerability. She wants a man who doesn't panic when she's imperfect, who doesn't flinch when she's dark, who doesn't run when she exposes parts of herself she doesn't have and understand. But here's the problem. Most men either don't notice, or when they do, they crumble. They get too emotional, too invested. They try to fix her. They want labels. They needn't worse. What are we? Do you love me? Why are you pulling away? But he does something radically different. He sees the girl behind the performance. He listens not to her words, but to her frequency, her nervous laughter, her too perfect stories, her silence between the sentences. And when he finally speaks, he doesn't beg. He just looks her in the eye and says, you don't have to pretend around me. Boom. Her legs may not part, but her soul just did. That's what emotional intimacy feels like. Not flowers, not chocolates, not candlelit dinners. It's a feeling seen when she didn't want to be seen, and not being judged for it. That's the real seduction, and only a grounded man can offer it. 3. Drama is her drug. And Cam is your weapon. Now, let's get darker, more real. She says she wants peace, says she's done with games, says she wants a man who's emotionally mature, and then she starts a petty fight, goes cold for no reason, accuses you of things that make zero sense, and to sit for 6 hours just to think. Why? Because drama is her emotion lung. This is her third weakness. Her subconscious addiction to chaos. She'll create emotional whirlwinds, not because she's evil, but because she wants to see if you'll flinch. Will you argue back like a boy? Will you chase her like a lost puppy? Will you break, or will you stay grounded, still unmoved? This is her test. She needs to feel tension to measure your frame, to see if you'll collapse, to see if her storm can move your mountain. Most men panic, apologize for things they didn't do, raise their voice, send 10 paragraphs begging to fix it. The Stoic man, he watches the storm, don't feed it, doesn't react, doesn't reward emotional chaos with attention. Seneca said, if you want to win, learn to endure without complaint. She doesn't even understand why his silence cuts Sadipa, but it does. It forces her to feel her own drama alone, and in that space she either evolves or exits. Either way, he wins, because calmness isn't weakness, it's masculine power. It holds Thephram, and inside that frame, she can finally rest. Not because you tamed her, but because you refused to dance with her chaos. 4. She lives in fantasy, but reality is her weak spot. Let's strip away the illusions now. Every woman, yes, every single one, has a fantasy running through her mind, but there's the twist. It's not about a man with a good job, it's not about dinner dates or romantic texts, it's not evident about love, it's about power. The Kindorf power that pins her against a wall, that grabs her waist and makes her forget how to think, that makes her feel small, feminine, and completely out of control. She craves this. But here's the man she dreams about doesn't exist because most men are either too timid, too scared to take the lead, or they're too thirsty, too desperate for approval to ever be respected. So, what does she do? She stays in her head. She lives in situationships, fantasizes more than she eventishes herself. This is her fourth weakness. She escapes into imagination because the real world lacks masculine fire. She scrolls Instagram, read fiction, watch those TikToks of men dominating women, subtly anthon-size, because she doesn't feel it in real life. That's when the Stoic man enters. He doesn't become her fantasy. He replaces it. He becomes her anchor in reality. He walks like he owns every inch of the room. He speaks like Heckle Dent, care less if she agrees. Head touches her like he's touched her 1,000 times before, like her body is already familiar. No tension, no begging, no overthinking. That primal masculine gravity that bypasses logic. And suddenly she stops scrolling. She stops fantasizing base. You become the dream, not buff as you performed, but because you were real in a way she thought no man could be. 5. I'm fine. Her most dangerous lie. You know the phrase. You've heard it. I'm fine. But her voice went flat, her arms folded, her body pulled away, and her eyes screaming. This is her fifth weakness. Communication through contradiction. Women don't speak in straight lines. They don't say what they mean, not because they're deceptive, but because the emotions are layered. Their words say often shields armor, and behind that I'm fine is a storm of feelings she doesn't know how to express. Here's where 99% of men fail. They either 1. Take her words at face value and back off. 2. Panic, chase, overask, try to fix everything. What did I do? Talk tone, please, are you mad? Wrong. The Stoic man does neither. He watches Hellison's. He reads her emotional energy, not her language. He noticed the pause before she spoke, the shift in her breathing, the distance in her tone. He doesn't ask what's wrong. He simply ends in, not physically, but with presence, and says, you don't have to talk right now, but I see what you're in not saying, and I'm here. Boom. Suddenly, she feels understood, exposed, safe. Not because you solved her problem, but because you didn't run from it. This is how a woman melts. Her body doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to awareness. You become her and in that reflection, she finds clarity, peace. Because she doesn't want your panic, she wants your presence. 6. Validation is her drug, and you are her fix. Ever wondered why a woman who ghosted you suddenly watches all your stories? Why does your ex reach out right after you stopped caring? Why does she send a hey stranger message out of nowhere? It's not because she it's not even about you at all. It's about her ego, her need to know that she still has power over you. This is her sixth weakness, the validation addiction. You see, in a woman's world, attention is currency. When you respond to her texts, watch her stories or double tap her photos, you're paying her, not with money, but with emotional energy. And she needs that hit, just like a junkie. It's not love, it's dopamine. It's proof she's still desirable, still wanted, still in control. That's why so many men fall into the trap. She texts, hey, how are you? And suddenly, They're texting novels, complimenting her, trying to win her back. Wrong move. Every time you respond emotionally, you'll feed the addiction. You validate her ego, not her heart. But the Stoic man, he sees right through it. She says, just checking in. He hears, I need to know, I still affect you. And he responds, maybe or maybe not. And when Hen does, it's slow, controlled, emotionally distant. Because the man with power isn't rude, he's just unavailable for emotional charity. That's what makes her spiral. She starts to wonder, why isn't he responding? Is he seeing someone else? Did I lose him for real? Now you become an obsession. Not because you chased her, but because you denied her ego. And in a world that worships attention, the man withholds, it owns her imagination. 7. The identity crisis, and the man grounds her. Let me ask you something. Ever noticed how a woman says she wants confidence in a man but also kindness? A gentleman but also a savage? She wants to feel safe but also completely out of control. Confused. So is she. This is her 7th weakness. An identity crisis that lives inside her every day. She's been told to be everything at once. Sexy but not too sexual. Fierce but still soft. Independent but not cold. Ambitious, but she's exhausted, exposed, split in half. By day, she's a boss. She leads. She hustles. She pays her bills. But at night, in her quietest, most sacred place, she wants to be devoured, not controlled, not abused, but led by Amen, so anchored in his own identity Thathers can shift without judgment. That's what she's searching for. Not a man who tells her who she is, but one who knows who he is, no matter who she becomes. The Stoic man doesn't argue when her personality flips, doesn't flinch when she contradicts herself. He just breathes deep and says, you don't need to know who you are around me. Just be, I'll stay the same. And that stability, it breaks her. Because, in a world of mirrors and masks, the man who remains still becomes her compass. 8. The too strong mask and Craving beneath it. She walks in like a queen, head held high, heels clicking like thunder, voice sharp, eyes cold, independent, unapologetic, unbothered. And y'all think, she doesn't need anyone. You think she's too strong for me. She doesn't want a man. Wrong. This is her 8th weakness. The strong girl lies, because beneath that steel shell is a woman, who's been disappointed, hurt, left to carry her life on her own shoulders while men around her collapsed under it. She had to be strong because no one else was. She learned to armor up, to be her own provider, her own protector, her own plan B, but that doesn't mean she wants to. It means she had no choice. And deep inside, that forever breathing dragon is a woman, atching to be led. Not dominated, not controlled, but calmly, powerfully led, not with money, not with gifts, not with poetic words, with strength, the kind of masculine strength that says, this is what we're doing, period. That unshakable.com when she yells, that firm no when she tests you, that emotional presence when she breaks down. That the Stoic man doesn't get intimidated by her fire. He doesn't argue with her urge. He steps into it like a man walking into a burning building, unafraid, unmoved, and when he wraps his arms around her chaos without flinching, she melts, not because she's weak, but because someone finally showed up strong enough to carry her. That's when the alpha female becomes soft. Not for every man, but for the right man, the still-own, the grounded one, the one who doesn't blink. 9 thought loops, and the power to break her mind spiral. Have you ever said something completely harmless, and watched her mind go into overdrive? Say, I'll text you later. And suddenly in her head, you're cheating, you're relishing interest, you're seeing you're lying, all from 5 words. Why? Because she doesn't think in straight lines, she thinks in circles. This is her 9th weakness, thought loops. She replays conversations, analyzes tone, creates scenarios, argues with voices in her own mind. Not because she's crazy, but because she's overwhelmed. It's how she processes stress, emotion, desire, insecurity. The more you try to explain yourself logically, the deeper into the loop. And that's where most men get stuck. They try to fix it. They argue, they over-clarify. They think they can out-tech her overthinking. You can't, because her thoughts aren't asking for logic. They're begging for interruption, not with words, with presence. So, the Stoic man, he doesn't argue. He doesn't ask 21 questions. He interrupts the loop. He grabs her by the waist, pulls her in, looks her in the eyes, and says, stop thinking, come here. then kisses her like he owns her breath, like her body is the only truth that matters now. And at that moment, she's out of her head, back in her body, back in the now. That's real seduction. Not what you say, but how you pull her out of her own channels, because while she spirals in her mind, you become her escape, her peace, her anchor. Final words: understanding, not exploitation. Women have weaknesses, not because they're broken, but because they are complex, emotional, sensual, psychological beings. They were never designed to lead. They were designed to respond, to surrender. Only when Stoic man shows up and doesn't flinch. Your job as a Stoic man isn't to exploit their cracks. It's to see them, to hold still, to stay grounded when she's. That's real masculine power. And that's why she tests you every time. Not because she wants you to fail, but because she's dying to feel safe enough to finally fall. If you've ever felt a woman's storm and stayed unshaken, comment stillness, like this video. Subscribe to Dark Psychology for more forbidden truths about women, power, and male mastery. And remember, she always tests your emotions. Beauty, your silence, your presence, your calm that makes her submit.